This is the story of a 50-something Japanese businessman in Mashhad, Iran, working on sustainable energy solutions while being ardently admired by four beautiful Persian women. After his wife passed away, Hiroshi Tanaka's life became unbearably empty. Once, family had been everything to him, but with his children moved out, the sudden emptiness of events and spaces left him adrift. He traveled to Iran, a place he had always yearned to visit, seeking an answer to a vague question: how should I spend the rest of my life? This place, called the Eastern Ancient Persia, with its deep history and culture, seemed enough to satisfy his desire to encounter unfamiliar landscapes. He settled in Mashhad, a city in northeastern Iran, a place with strong religious character, but also full of vitality. Through a chance opportunity, Hiroshi discovered the potential of combining Japan's traditional fermentation techniques with Iran's abundant agricultural products. If it's fermented food, isn't that Japan's proud domain? And doesn't Iran have many healthy ingredients? He thought. When he conducted small-scale trial production, local people's reactions were quite positive. The people of Mashhad were unexpectedly very familiar with Japanese culture. They especially loved Japanese historical dramas and would ask questions like, did kings and ministers really live wearing those kinds of clothes, as shown in historical dramas? They naturally showed goodwill and kindness toward Hiroshi, the stranger from Japan, a result of the city's unique hospitality culture and curiosity about foreigners. And so, bit by bit, Hiroshi established a business foundation in Mashhad. One day, Hiroshi received an introduction from a local businessman. There were some Iranian women particularly fond of Japanese television dramas who said they very much wanted to meet him. To this, Hiroshi agreed with a relaxed attitude. All right, let's meet then. On the appointed day, he met these four Iranian women at a traditional tea house in downtown Mashhad, each with different names and stories. Parisa, in her 20s, was a university student majoring in international relations, an academic figure who researched Japanese language and culture. Tahira, also in her 20s, ran a farm near Mashhad with her family, almost bearing the family's livelihood, with excellent farming skills and business acumen. Layla, in her early 20s, was a shy, talented artist passionate about carpet and textile design and traditional crafts. Jamila, in her 30s, was a free spirit who loved music and dance, played traditional instruments, and hoped to try combining Persian music with Japanese melodies. They all had one thing in common. They loved Japanese TV dramas, especially historical ones, and found the power struggles and love stories between kings and ministers fascinating. When they first met Hiroshi, they joked that he looked like an elder who might be a king or high-ranking nobleman, but quickly realized his warm and knowledgeable personality and felt comfortable with him. Hiroshi also enjoyed their curious questions and radiant smiles. Do Japanese people really eat kimchi with every meal? Do actors playing generals really know martial arts? How did Japanese history begin? Such questions emerged, and Hiroshi sincerely explained all he could. As time passed, Parisa, Tahira, Layla, and Jamila all expressed their fondness for Hiroshi in different ways. Parisa said, "Studying in Japan is my dream." She spent her spare time diligently learning Japanese, even having Hiroshi correct her pronunciation. Tahira, responsible for running the family farm, was very interested in Hiroshi's fermentation business and actively sought advice, asking, can we use our crops to make new products? Would they be popular outside the Islamic world? Layla, though introverted, was full of artistic theories. With shining eyes, she said, I want to incorporate traditional Japanese patterns into carpet designs. Could I study embroidery from Japanese traditional clothing? Jamila, filled with excitement and love for music, said she had also seen videos of traditional Japanese music. The shamisen and koto are truly charming. I want to collaborate with traditional Iranian instruments like the tar and setar. Hiroshi, considering his age, thought they were approaching him merely with youthful curiosity. However, as time passed, the feelings these four women expressed toward him went beyond simple curiosity, drawn to his warm leadership abilities and beautiful character. He always listened to everyone's stories, and if they needed help, he would roll up his sleeves and seek solutions. Iranian law doesn't officially permit polygamy, although there are rumors that in some regions following Islamic law or interpretations, one might have up to 4 wives under specific conditions. In reality, the legal and procedural requirements are very difficult, and this is usually an uncommon cultural practice. Most importantly, in modern Iranian society, most people consider formal marriage to one person the norm. Hiroshi, carrying Japanese emotions from childhood, couldn't even imagine establishing marriage-like relationships with not just two or three, but four women. However, local people were interested in the concubine system or concubine stories of ancient Japan they had learned about through TV dramas and historical dramas, and felt a certain romanticism. Moreover, these four women were cultivating a possessiveness toward Hiroshi, saying things like, "Even if all four of us are together, it's fine." For Hiroshi, their expressions of affection were a burden. Can I really form a family with these people? This isn't easy, either culturally or legally. But the situation progressed faster than he could speak, as the four women began to express their feelings more actively. Around that time, Hiroshi's fermentation business was gradually expanding, reinterpreting fermented products similar to Japanese kimchi, soy sauce, and miso using local Iranian grains, vegetables, and fruits. Neighboring countries began showing interest, and if he could solve the halal certification issues specific to the Islamic world, it seemed possible to export to Central Asia and the Middle East. In this process, these four women were of great help. Parisa was skilled in translation and document preparation, helping to develop business plans by analyzing cultural differences between Japan and Iran. Tahira ensured a stable supply of high-quality agricultural products through her family farm. Layla combined product packaging design with traditional patterns, making the brand stand out more. Jamila suggested promoting products at local music events and traditional festivals, directly planning small performances to attract people. Hiroshi felt he had truly gained powerful allies. But at the same time, these four women were cultivating love beyond business relationships. For example, Parisa would quietly approach Hiroshi after work and earnestly say, "You worked hard again today. Because you're here, I'm gradually getting closer to my dream." Tahira introduced Hiroshi to her family elders, proudly saying, "This man has changed my life." Shy Layla learned cooking and tried mixing Japanese seasonings into local dishes to please Hiroshi. Jamila played a short melody she had composed directly for Hiroshi, trying to lift his spirits. Then rumors began circulating that Pakistani terrorist organizations were secretly active in areas near Mashhad. They said those who had been active at the border were expanding their influence to near Mashhad. Although no specific movements were captured in the media, villagers couldn't hide their anxiety. Hiroshi decided that people were the most important and temporarily looked after these four women and their families instead of forcibly expanding his business. He told them, "If the situation becomes dangerous, please contact me. I will cooperate with any police and try my best to help." This anxiety became reality. Late one night, an emergency message came. A terrorist organization had attacked a village near Mashhad, robbing some local residents. Soon after, someone said Tahira's family's farm also needed enhanced security. Hiroshi immediately drove to Tahira's family farm. The whole village was in chaos. There were eyewitnesses reporting gunfire in outer areas. Those guarding the farm were in a state of fear, looking for ways to quickly evacuate. With the help of acquaintances, several trucks were gathered, and they began moving family members and neighbors. Parisa, Layla, and Jamila were also protecting their families' locations, but as the dangerous situation spread, everyone contacted Hiroshi. "We also want to go to a safe place. If it's where you are, we feel we can trust and take refuge." Hiroshi judged that he alone couldn't accommodate everyone in his house. He urgently borrowed a relatively safe and spacious house from an acquaintance. Thus, the large-scale evacuation continued toward downtown Mashhad. The scale of the terrorist organization was unclear, and there were rumors that government troops would be deployed to suppress them, but people's fear didn't easily subside. In the temporarily rented spacious house, Tahira's family, Parisa, Layla, Jamila, and their relatives gathered. Hiroshi also tirelessly acquired food, water, and medicine. Due to insufficient sleeping space, he negotiated with nearby accommodations and allocated some space, prioritizing the elderly and children. In the chaotic situation, Hiroshi comforted everyone and acted tirelessly. Seeing that figure, Parisa, Tahira, Layla, and Jamila exchanged glances, newly recognizing how sincerely Hiroshi helped people and what a warm heart he had, confirming their belief, "This is the man we love, the man who will protect us until the end." At some point, these four women each approached Hiroshi, almost simultaneously proposing to him. Being recognized as a wife under Iranian law is not easy, but we don't need to adhere to the form of formal marriage. We want to form a family with you. You might feel embarrassed because there are 4 of us, but we 4 cherish and respect each other. If we can all become your wives, we hope to guard this life beyond cultural and institutional restrictions. Hiroshi's mind spun, not just one person's proposal, but 4 people simultaneously confessing their feelings with tears, making him dizzy. He initially firmly refused. Even in Japan, this would be difficult to understand. I'm not prepared to bear this responsibility. But these 4 women didn't give up. We've fallen in love with you, and our gratitude for you protecting us from danger will never be forgotten. As time passed, surrounded by continuous chaos caused by terrorism, Hiroshi endlessly pondered, can I really embrace these 4 people? This is culturally unfamiliar, and I also have a responsibility to my conscience. However, in ensuring the safety and stability of people around him, he couldn't ignore the sincere gazes from these 4 women. Well, if you all willingly choose this relationship, then I will do my best to fulfill my responsibility. Finally, in these extreme circumstances, Hiroshi confessed, all right, although there's no way to legally register marriages, if our hearts are what's most important, then I will also cherish this relationship. The 4 women shed tears, expressing their joy. Thank you. We can hardly believe we can love you together. We won't be jealous or quarrel with each other. Fortunately, a few days later, news came that government troops and security departments had mostly suppressed the terrorist organization, and areas near Mashhad gradually restored stability. Tahira's farm was protected and hadn't suffered major losses. Parisa, Layla, and Jamila's families were also able to resume daily life, but Hiroshi and these 4 women's relationship now led to a decision to live together. Hiroshi arranged his existing apartment and sought a more spacious, independent house. In this place, Parisa, Tahira, Layla, and Jamila each used their own rooms, while the kitchen and living room were used as common spaces. Living together like this with 5 people, isn't this something that happens only once in a lifetime? Hiroshi still couldn't believe it, but these 4 women genuinely felt happy. Among their parents and siblings, some asked, is this really the right decision? But because they themselves wanted it and had already agreed with each other, there was no open opposition. Instead, more people were moved by the humane side Hiroshi had shown and supported them, as if they had promised each other. Not long after, all 4 women brought news of pregnancy. Hiroshi had never imagined he would become a father of 4 children this way. While somewhat confused, he said, is this really all right? A surging emotion welled up in his heart. During early pregnancy, the 4 women took care of each other, even through morning sickness and fatigue. Because Jamila looks unwell today, I'll prepare this meal instead. Because Parisa needs to rest well, let's leave Tahira's farm work to her family and let her rest. This was during the same period when these women took care of each other when Hiroshi was away on business or busy with work. Several months later, 4 babies were born. Each time they made loud crying sounds, Hiroshi and these 4 women would hold the babies, with expressions of tears and laughter intertwined on their faces. Never thought I'd have 4 children at once. Hiroshi once again felt the reality of fate. These children were mixed Japanese and Iranian, with dark brown hair, black eyes, and slightly different skin tones. Their names were created by slightly combining Japanese and Iranian pronunciations, such as Ramin, Paragon, Mina, and Jerry. Each time they called these names, the sounds of both cultures would swirl in their mouths. The sight of 5 people living together was like a TV drama. In the morning, Hiroshi had his own way, getting up early to do some basic parenting, like holding crying children and preparing formula. The 4 women took turns preparing various foods in the kitchen, Japanese miso soup or grilled meat, and Iranian kebabs or tachin, a type of rice dish. Although cultural differences existed, as they enjoyed delicious food, people gained a deeper understanding of each other. Of course, conflicts would arise between these 4 women. For example, there might be small conflicts on issues such as who would cook which dish for Hiroshi today, or how to approach children's education. But each time they adhered to the principle of discussing together, even the smallest issues. All 4 of us are equally respected, and we share our feelings honestly every day, preventing the accumulation of dissatisfaction. Due to these principles, they maintained harmony without serious quarrels. Hiroshi always felt he owed them a lot, thinking, have I enjoyed too much happiness? I must repay them so much. So he used a large portion of the profits from his thriving business to donate to families and the local community. Even after terrorism was suppressed, some areas near Mashhad still suffered from poverty and instability. Hiroshi and these 4 women didn't turn a blind eye to this. Tahira expanded the farm, providing more job opportunities for villagers. Parisa, while studying Japanese and international relations at the local university, held free lectures or seminars to help students interested in international trade. Layla set up a traditional carpet workshop so local women could use their handicraft skills to achieve economic independence. Jamila brought comfort and joy to those hurt by terrorism through music and performances. Hiroshi supported the equipment and venues needed for these activities. These gestures were even reported by local media with headlines like, "A foreign Japanese businessman and 4 Iranian women light sparks of hope in Mashhad." Some still found it difficult to understand the fact of having 4 wives, but since they actually respected each other and contributed to society, many created an atmosphere of support, saying, look how virtuous and industrious they are while maintaining a relationship that's difficult to sustain in reality. Hiroshi and these 4 women were demonstrating through silent time whether the form of love must be only one. Because these 4 children were born and grew up at similar times, they lived like siblings. Both Japanese and Persian could be heard simultaneously in the house. Every night, Hiroshi would read Japanese fairy tales and traditional stories, while Parisa and Jamila would tell Persian folk stories and literary works. As the children grew, festival cultures naturally merged. They honored their homeland by eating mochi, tiak, or songpyeon during Japanese New Year and Chuseok, and observed local customs during Iranian festivals Eid al-Fitr and Ramadan. The children felt proud, saying, Japan is our homeland, and Iran is also our homeland. Once, some officials from Japanese diplomatic channels contacted them, saying they wanted to visit Mashhad. Hiroshi hesitated a bit after receiving the interview request, but finally responded, "We have no reason to hide. On the contrary, if we can help promote cultural exchange between the 2 countries this way, we'd be happy to do so." Afterward, a documentary called A Special Japanese Family Found in Iran was broadcast on Japanese television, causing quite a sensation. The harmony and responsibility of these 4 women. They weren't just wives sharing one man, they were cultivating a solid sisterhood among themselves. Parisa, whenever encountering difficulties immersed in books and research, would find inner peace from Jamila's music. Tahira collaborated with Layla as a designer to try special packaging amid her busy farm work. When Layla had difficulty recovering physically after pregnancy, Tahira, Parisa, and Jamila took turns helping her care for the child. Besides performance planning, Jamila also undertook combination performances in cultural activities prepared by Parisa and Layla. In their daily lives, consideration for each other outweighed jealousy. Of course, conflicts weren't absent. For example, there were disagreements on how to emphasize religious aspects in children's education, or how to allocate Hiroshi's outings. But each time they adhered to the principle of discussing together even the smallest issues, and ultimately, conflicts big and small were resolved through dialogue, making their teamwork spirit stronger. Hiroshi sometimes reflected, "Is this a dream?" Without realizing it, he had become the head of a family with these 4 women and 4 children, enjoying a second life on Iranian soil. Never thought that after losing my wife and children moving away, life would bloom again like this, he repeatedly told himself. As time passed, Hiroshi's business grew better, and the positive influence of this family became well known. In the Mashhad region, the story of these 4 Japanese historical drama fans and the Japanese businessman bearing his responsibilities spread like a legend. Thanks to these people, local agricultural products are sold overseas, and poor neighbors have gained work. As this news spread, Hiroshi and these 4 women seemed to create a small community, conveying hope to surrounding people, especially as they took the lead in rescue work for nearby villages that had suffered terrorist attacks and contributed to local economic and social recovery by recalling residents who had left out of fear of terrorism. With such sincere efforts accumulating, people acknowledged this family as an entity that, although unknown in form, was definitely producing a positive impact. Hiroshi was approaching his 60s, feeling his physical strength gradually diminishing compared to before, but watching these four women and children grow, he solidified his determination. I still have much to do. He handed over part of his business to trustworthy local partners and gradually retreated from the front line to envision a larger blueprint, thinking about how to establish scholarship systems or educational support structures so the children could grow and one day play a positive role on the international stage connecting Japan and Iran. These children soon surpassed elementary school and entered middle school. They were fluent in both Japanese and Persian and interacted with Japanese relatives during each vacation or visited Japan. The four women guided the children correctly in their own ways. Parisa instilled intellectual curiosity, Tahira imparted practical skills, Layla infused artistic sense, and Jamila inspired them with vitality through music and performance. Hiroshi and these four women often reminisce. We seem destined to meet. We never thought we would form a family in such a special form in a strange land. Initially, there were many unfamiliar gazes, but now everyone lives confidently as a family. The story of these five people that began in Mashhad was far from ordinary. In Iran, polygamy is not officially recognized. A family composed of four wives and one husband lives outside the institutional framework. However, they demonstrated the value of sincerity and risk, transcending the legal aspect of marriage. For them, overcoming difficulties and contributing to the local community were more important than jealousy or prejudice between them. This story raises a question. What is a family? Does it only count if a man and a woman make marriage vows? Of course, traditional marriage systems have served many purposes over a long time, but this story shows that even in forms that break that framework, true love and respect can exist, and they have proven that such a form can bring positive impacts to the world. Even today, Hiroshi, these four women and four children still live noisily in one house, with the scene of four women laughing and talking around their husband every morning. The children freely use both languages, growing with dreams of a wider world. And those Iranians and Japanese looking at this family, although considering it impossible, sincerely admire their courage and love. Love like this sometimes transcends common sense, and if this love becomes a power to protect each other and further becomes a hope for people around, then it is more beautiful than anything else. Hiroshi, Parisa, Tahira, Layla, and Gamila are like this. Through their existence, they show how different cultures and people can live together. Their story, which bloomed amidst terrorism and turmoil, proves that what seems impossible anywhere in the world can be realized if there is a sincere heart. They promise to continue traveling between Japan and Iran and to be a bridge connecting the cultures of both countries. As the children grow well with Japanese-style education and interests, and with international awareness to be used on the world stage, this family's influence will grow increasingly larger. They quietly and clearly prove that if sincerity is with anything, the world changes bit by bit.